The first time my son-in-law called me dad without sounding embarrassed was the same night he asked me to sell my house. We were sitting around his parents' Thanksgiving table outside Atlanta, 20 people deep, candles burning, expensive wine open, every plate arranged, like somebody expected a magazine photographer to walk through the door. Grant lifted his glass and said, "To family, to new beginnings, and to Dad finally letting us take care of him for once." Everyone smiled. I did not. His mother, Meredith, slid a cream-colored folder beside my plate. On the cover were the words, "Bennett Family Transition." Inside was a plan for me to move into a smaller 55-plus condo, sell the ranch house where my wife and I had raised our daughter, sell my cabin in Blue Ridge, and give $600,000 of the proceeds to my daughter, Emily, as an early inheritance. Except Emily was not the person they expected to use most of it. Grant wanted $400,000 for a luxury home development project with his father. His parents wanted the rest used toward a down payment so Emily and Grant could buy a house in their gated community. Grant smiled at me across the turkey and said, "Let's be honest, Arthur. You don't need all that space anymore." Meredith added, "Emily deserves to live at the level she's worked so hard to reach." Then my daughter whispered something that changed the entire evening. "Dad, I thought you already agreed." I turned toward her. "Who told you that?" Grant stopped smiling. "My name is Arthur Bennett. I was 68 years old that Thanksgiving, and until that night my son-in-law believed three things about me with absolute confidence. He believed I'd been a small-town contractor who retired with one paid-off house, one mountain cabin, and maybe enough savings to avoid becoming Emily's financial problem. He believed the nicest thing I could ever give my daughter was whatever she inherited after I died. And he believed because I drove an 18-year-old Toyota Avalon with a cracked dashboard, wore flannel shirts from Costco, and still mowed my own lawn, there was nothing about my life worth taking seriously until it could be converted into money for his. He was wrong about all three things. But the biggest mistake Grant made was not underestimating how much money I had. It was underestimating how much disrespect a father can quietly watch before he stops protecting his daughter from the truth. I had spent nearly 4 years telling myself Grant loved Emily. I still believe some part of him did. That is important. People like simple villains because simple villains make decisions easier. Grant was not simple. He could be funny. He remembered my daughter's coffee order. He once drove 6 hours through a thunderstorm because Emily had been hospitalized with appendicitis while I was visiting friends in Tennessee. He held her hand through a miscarriage. He sent flowers on the anniversary of my wife's death because he knew the date mattered to Emily. He also slowly trained my daughter to feel embarrassed by the family she came from. Both things were true. Human beings are inconvenient that way. I grew up outside Macon, Georgia, the son of a mechanic and a cafeteria worker. My father believed buying anything you could repair was a moral failure. My mother believed every reusable container had at least 9 more lives left in it. I married my wife Laura when I was 24. We did not have much. We rented a duplex with orange carpet that had apparently survived several crimes. I worked as a carpenter, then a foreman, then started taking small renovation jobs on weekends. Laura was a public school speech therapist. She had better benefits, better handwriting, and infinitely better judgment than I did. Emily arrived when we were 33. She was our only child, not because we planned it that way. Life simply never gave us another. I sometimes think that made us too aware of her, too proud, too careful. Maybe every only child grows up under the pressure of carrying all the parents' hopes in one backpack. Emily handled it better than most. She was smart without needing anybody to know it, warm without being naive, and stubborn in the exact way Laura used to be stubborn, which is to say she would listen politely to everything you said and then do whatever she had already decided. At 12, she told me she wanted to become a physical therapist because she had watched Laura recover from back surgery and thought helping people get their lives back sounded useful. At 35, she still did exactly that at a rehabilitation hospital outside Atlanta. She loved her work. She made good money, not ridiculous money, good money. She wore comfortable shoes, drove a Subaru, and had inherited Laura's complete inability to care whether a handbag was impressive. That was one reason Grant surprised me. Grant Cole came from a family where appearances were treated almost like a second language. His father, Charles Cole, spent 30 years in commercial real estate. His mother, Meredith, sat on nonprofit boards, hosted charity luncheons, knew which country club had the best waiting list, and could identify the designer of a woman's shoes faster than I could identify a carburetor. Their house in Milton sat behind a stone gate and looked like a hotel that had married a plantation and then hired a decorator. Grant grew up inside that world. Private school, University of Georgia, MBA, ski trips, golf, summer internships arranged through family friends. None of that made him bad. Privilege does not manufacture character any more than hardship guarantees it. But Grant had one habit that bothered me from the beginning. He ranked people almost unconsciously. 5 minutes into any conversation, he would determine where someone belonged. Useful, impressive, connected, attractive, wealthy, interesting, or not. Once he placed you, he adjusted the amount of attention you received. I noticed because men like me have spent entire lives being underestimated by men like Grant. I did not mind when strangers did it. I cared when he did it to people Emily loved. Grant and I first met at a restaurant in Buckhead. Emily had been dating him for 6 months. She was glowing in the way parents pretend not to notice because noticing makes the relationship feel serious. Grant wore a navy blazer, expensive watch, and the kind of smile that lets you know the teeth have received professional attention. He shook my hand. Mr. Bennett, finally. Arthur. Grant. We sat. Within 20 minutes, he had mentioned his graduate degree, his father's development deals, a trip to Aspen, and the fact that his company had just moved him into an executive role managing acquisitions for a luxury residential developer. He asked what I did. Retired now. From? Building work mostly. Construction? Something like that. He nodded. The conversation moved on immediately. That part did not bother me. I had chosen a vague answer. But later, when Emily went to the restroom, Grant smiled and said, "She told me you're one of those guys who can fix anything." Depends what's broken. I'm useless with tools. Good. Keeps people like me employed. He laughed. Exactly. Not cruel. Small. A social calculation. Arthur Bennett, retired tradesman, good with tools, probably harmless. I filed it away. My life was more complicated than building work. In my 30s, I began buying neglected duplexes and small apartment buildings from owners who wanted out. I repaired them myself at first. Laura handled books at our kitchen table after Emily went to sleep. We bought another, then a small retail strip center, then a warehouse. Over 35 years, with long stretches where nothing happened, except mortgages getting paid and roofs needing replacement, those properties became a regional portfolio. I also owned part of a building supply company with 2 men I had worked beside in my 20s. We sold most of that business when I was 62. I invested the proceeds conservatively. By the time Grant met me, my net worth was just over $14 million. Not billionaire money, not private jet money. Enough money that I never needed to work again. Enough money that Emily would eventually inherit more than I had ever imagined when she was born. And enough money that I had absolutely no desire to organize my identity around it. Laura and I had agreed on that before she died. Money should make your life quieter, she once told me. If it makes you louder, you're probably using it wrong. Laura died from ovarian cancer 8 years before I met Grant. 41 years of marriage reduced to a closet full of clothes. I could not move for 18 months, and a toothbrush I left beside mine because taking it away felt too final. Grief changed my relationship with possessions. The house in Marietta where we raised Emily was not impressive by Grant's standards. 4 bedrooms, brick ranch, big oak tree in front. Kitchen renovated in 2008 and still looking proud of it. But Laura picked every cabinet. Emily's height marks remained inside the laundry room doorframe. The dining room floor still had a tiny burn mark from the Thanksgiving when I dropped a hot pan and pretended it was part of the wood grain. I could have bought something newer. I did not want newer. I wanted mine. Same with the Avalon. Laura bought that car after our 25th anniversary because she was tired of our old minivan. I kept driving it because it started every morning and because replacing a functioning thing just to improve the picture strangers formed of me sounded exhausting. Grant hated that car. At first he teased, "Arthur, I think Toyota is going to ask for that thing back for the museum. Still runs. So does a lawnmower." "Then I'm over-equipped." Emily laughed. "Fine. Families tease." Then jokes became explanations. At their housewarming party after Emily and Grant married, one of Grant's co-workers asked whether the Avalon outside belonged to me. Grant answered before I could, "Yeah." Arthur believes depreciation is a personal attack. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Later, Emily said, "He's just joking." I know. You okay? Sure. I meant it then. At Christmas, Grant gave me a gift certificate for a luxury detailing service. Maybe they can bring the old girl back to life. She's alive. Barely. Again, laughter. Small. Harmless if isolated. Character is rarely revealed by one enormous moment. It leaks. Grant proposed to Emily after 18 months. I liked him enough by then. More importantly, she loved him. He asked for my blessing at my house. We sat on the back porch. He seemed nervous, which I appreciated. "I love her," he said. "Good. I want to build something with her. Better. I know you and Laura were together a long time." His expression softened. "I want that." I believed him. "Then remember you're marrying a person, not a position in your life." He smiled. "I know." I wish that sentence had stayed with him. Their wedding was beautiful. Grant's parents paid for much of it because Meredith had opinions that required financing. Emily and Grant paid part. I contributed $25,000 and told Emily privately, it was a gift, not a statement. Use less if you want. She hugged me. Mom would tell me to save half. Your mother would hide half in a coffee can. True. I walked Emily down the aisle wearing the same tuxedo I had worn to a charity dinner 8 years earlier because apparently tuxedos do not expire unless Meredith Cole sees them. She actually asked Emily the week before whether I was renting something current. Emily snapped at her. "He has a tux." Meredith smiled. "I just want everyone to look cohesive. There is a word status conscious people love, cohesive. It usually means someone nearby is failing to match the photograph. The wedding itself went well. I danced with my daughter, cried before she did, told her, your mother would be unbearable tonight. Emily laughed into my shoulder. She'd be bossing the photographer. Correct. Grant saw us and smiled. Real smile. That memory kept me patient longer than I should have been. The first moment I began worrying about Emily's place inside the Cole family came 6 months after the wedding at Grant's sister Brooke's engagement party. Meredith had hired a photographer. At sunset, everyone gathered near the garden for what she called the family picture. I stepped toward Emily out of habit. Meredith touched my arm. Oh, Arthur, we'll do extended family after. Extended family. My daughter was standing beside her husband. I looked at Meredith. Sure. I stepped back. Grant's parents, Grant, Emily, Brooke, and her fiancé, Grant's brother and his wife, Charles's mother, Meredith's sister, 2 cousins. Apparently extended had a flexible definition. The picture appeared online the next morning. Meredith's caption, our whole beautiful family entering another joyful season. Emily texted me within 10 minutes. Dad, I'm sorry. For what? I didn't realize you weren't in it until afterward. I stared at the message. It's okay. No, it isn't. The next time notice. She called immediately. Are you mad? No. You sound mad. I'm not mad at you. Meredith is weird about photos. I know. She doesn't mean anything. I almost said intentions are not magic. Instead, love you. Love you. Then there were dinners where Meredith corrected Emily's clothes. You're wearing flats? Charity events where Grant introduced Emily by her husband's title rather than her own career. My wife, Emily. She keeps me sane. Not Emily as a physical therapist who runs a neuro rehab team. At first, Emily laughed. Later, she started choosing outfits by asking, do you think Meredith will think this is too casual? That sentence bothered me. Do you? I asked. Do I what? Think it's too casual. No. Then wear it. Dad, you don't understand their world. There it was. Their world. Somehow marriage had become immigration. Emily was learning the customs. Grant began talking differently about my house. Arthur, you could sell this place tomorrow and make a killing. Probably. Why keep 4 bedrooms? I like them. You use 1. I like the other 3 too. The market is insane. You're leaving money on the table. I'm sitting at the table, that's enough. He would laugh. Then again, 6 months later, you ever think about a condo? No, no yard. I like my yard. Ho handles everything. Sounds terrifying. He laughed again. Every suggestion was wrapped as concern. We just want you closer. You're 35 minutes away. Closer to us. 35 minutes. And what if you fall? Then I'll fall in Marietta, Emily would say, Dad. I'm joking. Underneath the jokes, a story was forming. Arthur is old. Arthur's house is inefficient. Arthur is sitting on assets. Arthur will eventually need help. Arthur should simplify. Arthur's daughter should benefit while he is alive. None of those statements were outrageous alone. Together, they became an agenda. I did not see the full shape until Grant's company dinner. Grant worked for a regional luxury home developer called Whitmore Residential. He had risen quickly, from acquisitions manager to vice president of development in 3 years. He was genuinely good at parts of his job, charming with investors, fast with numbers, confident in rooms where confidence often becomes mistaken for competence. Emily was proud. I was too. She invited me to a company dinner because Charles and Meredith were out of town, and she wanted me there. Grant called that afternoon. "Hey, Arthur, one tiny favor." "Sure. Maybe not the flannel tonight." I looked down at my blue button-down shirt. Wasn't planning flannel. Good, good. It's just pretty senior people. Wouldn't want fabric to derail the evening. Silence. Then he laughed because he was not sure whether I was joking. Exactly. I wore clean gray slacks, blue shirt, old brown dress shoes. At the cocktail reception, Grant introduced me to his boss. "This is Emily's dad, Arthur, retired contractor." "Builder," I said. Grant smiled. "Right, old school builder." His boss shook my hand. "Good to meet you." Grant immediately steered him toward Charles, who had arrived unexpectedly from the airport and apparently outranked me in conversational usefulness. Later, I went looking for the restroom and heard Grant talking to 2 colleagues near the terrace. I recognized my name before I intended to listen. "Arthur, he's harmless." Laughter. "Good guy, very simple. Drives this ancient Toyota and spends his days mowing grass." Someone asked, "Does Emily worry about taking care of him later?" Grant laughed. "Honestly, probably. She's an only child. That's the one downside." My body went still. "But he owns the house outright," Grant continued, "plus some cabin up north. He'll leave everything to her, so it balances out." More laughter. One man said, "Long-term care strategy." Grant replied, "Exactly. Old man is basically sitting on his own nursing home fund." They laughed again. I walked away before I heard more. Not because I was afraid I would confront him, because I knew I would not, and I did not want to hear enough to hate him. That night, Emily asked whether I enjoyed dinner. "Parts. Grant's boss liked you." We spoke 40 seconds. "That's Grant's boss. Then we're basically family." She laughed. "Dad." I looked at her. "You happy?" She blinked. "Yes. Really? Why?" "Just asking." "You're being weird." "Probably." She kissed my cheek. I said nothing about what I heard. That was my first mistake. Not because exposing Grant immediately would have fixed everything, because silence protected his version of himself inside my daughter's marriage. I told myself I was avoiding interfering. Parents of adult children live inside a difficult rule. Tell too much, and you become controlling. Say too little, and you may become the person who watched trouble arrive without knocking. I chose silence for 4 months. During those months, Grant's interest in my finances increased. "You ever create an estate plan?" "Yes." "Emily says you don't talk about money. We talk enough. It's important." "I agree. She should know what to expect." "Why?" He stared. "Because she's your daughter." "She knows she's my daughter." He laughed. "You're impossible." Frequently. Then Charles began joining. At a Sunday barbecue, he said, "Arthur, there's wisdom in transferring wealth before taxes eat it." "I'm not hungry. I'm serious." "So am I." Meredith invited me to lunch. Just us. That had never happened. We sat at a country club dining room where the water glasses had more employees than my first company. She asked whether I felt lonely in the Marietta house. "Sometimes." "That must be hard." "Rief. Have you thought about a community?" "This one?" She laughed. "No, I mean residential. Somewhere with people your age." "I know people my age. But activities, security, less upkeep." "I enjoy upkeep." Her face showed genuine confusion. People who hire someone for everything sometimes forget work can be satisfying. Then she said, "Emily worries." "Has she told you that?" "She worries about everything." "Has she told you she worries about me?" Meredith looked away for half a second. She and Grant talk. There it was. Secondhand concern. Useful because I could not challenge the source without challenging the marriage. That evening, I called Emily. Do you want me to move? Silence. What? Meredith says you're worried about the house. She said that? Yes. Dad, I just said maybe eventually you'd want less maintenance. Eventually when? I don't know. Next year? No. 5 years? Maybe. Did you ask Meredith to talk to me? Absolutely not. Okay. Emily sounded angry now. Why is she doing that? Ask her. I will. 10 minutes later, Grant called me. Arthur, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Probably. Mom means well. I know. Emily's upset. I know. Can we all just move on? Absolutely. He sounded relieved. Great. Grant? Yeah? Stop discussing where I should live with people who don't live with me. Silence. Of course. Good. That was the first boundary. They respected it for 11 days. Then came the mountain cabin. Laura and I bought that place near Blue Ridge 22 years earlier. Small cedar house on 3 acres. Creek behind it. 2 bedrooms. Old stone fireplace. We spent anniversaries there. Emily learned to fish there and hated every second. After Laura died, I went less often because every room contained a version of her. Still, selling it felt like giving away a language only 2 people had spoken. Grant loved the cabin's value. That area exploded. I've noticed. You could probably get $750. Maybe, for a place you use 6 times a year. Maybe 8. Arthur. Grant. Think about opportunity cost. I'm thinking about trout. He smiled without humor. You could do something meaningful with that equity. Owning it is meaningful. He stopped. To you. There it was? I looked at him. Yes. To me. Emily entered the kitchen carrying groceries, and the conversation ended. Later, she asked what was wrong. Nothing. Dad. Grant wants me to sell the cabin. She frowned. Why? Ask him. That night she called. He says he was just talking. He was. You made it sound like pressure. Did he tell you he thinks I'm wasting equity? Dad. I'm asking. Yes. Then we agree on facts. He's stressed about something. What? Work. Okay. He's thinking about doing something on his own someday. I remembered the conversations. A company? Maybe. Does he need money? Silence. Emily. Not right now. Has he talked to you about my money? Only generally. What does generally mean? Dad, can we not turn this into an interrogation? That phrase did not sound like Emily. It sounded like someone who had spent months defending conversations she had not started. I backed off. Okay, I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. I hate when you and Grant are weird with each other. Then don't stand between us. Let us be weird directly. She laughed weakly. That sounds healthy. Probably why I hate it. We moved on. But I started watching my daughter more closely. Not spying. Watching. She had lost the easy confidence she used to carry around Grant's family. She checked his face before answering questions about plans. She changed stories mid-sentence. We're thinking about Nashville for Christmas, actually. Grant wants Aspen, so probably Aspen. She stopped suggesting weekends at the cabin because Grant said, we need to prioritize couple time. She stopped wearing Laura's silver pendant to formal events after Meredith once called it sweetly homemade. I asked where it was. At home. You love that necklace. I do. Then wear it. It doesn't work with this dress. It worked for 15 years. Dad. Fine. Small things. Marriage contains compromises. The question is whether compromise moves both directions. At Thanksgiving the year before everything broke, the Cole family hosted. I arrived with 2 pies because Meredith believed store-bought crust was perfectly acceptable when people are busy, which meant she had hired someone else to make dessert. Grant was taking photos near the staircase. Family picture. I stepped toward Emily. He said, Arthur, can you take this one? I stopped. Sure. He handed me his phone. Charles. Meredith. Grant. Emily. Brooke and her husband, Grant's brother, their kids. I took 6 pictures. Emily suddenly said, Dad should be in one. Grant looked at the group. Of course. After this, we took theirs. Then people scattered because turkey needed carving. No second picture. Later that night, Grant posted one of the photographs I took. Caption, my entire world. Emily commented a heart. I sat in my kitchen at midnight looking at a picture of my daughter's entire world that required me to stand behind the camera. I did not call, did not complain. I sent her a photo of Laura the next morning because it was our anniversary. Emily called crying. I forgot today. That's okay. No. Your mother would forget her own birthday if calendars stopped existing. I'm sorry about the picture. What picture, Dad? I smiled sadly. I'm fine. You're not. I'm learning. Learning what? Not yet. That was when patience stopped being passive for me. I began asking questions. Quietly. Not about Grant's company, about my daughter. Whose idea was Aspen? Grant. Do you want Aspen? I don't ski. Good clue. It matters to him. Okay. Why are you asking like that? Like what? Like you think I'm disappearing. I looked at her. Tears immediately filled her eyes. There are questions people are waiting for and terrified to hear. Are you? I asked. She laughed and cried, I don't know. We sat in my kitchen for 2 hours. She told me Grant had become obsessed with moving into his parents' neighborhood. Their current house, a perfectly nice 4-bedroom home in Roswell, was starter level according to him. He wanted a 5-bedroom brick house with a pool and home office. Price, $1.6 million. We can't afford that comfortably, Emily said. Then don't. Grant says we can if his new project works. What project? She hesitated. He wants to leave Whitmore eventually and develop smaller luxury communities with Charles. How much? He says they need around $1 million total to start properly. From whom? Charles is putting some in. And you? Silence. Emily, Grant thinks I should use part of whatever Mom and you set aside for me. My chest went cold. What did he tell you I set aside? He doesn't know. Good. He thinks the cabin alone could become startup capital if you don't want to manage it. Has he asked you to ask me? She looked down. Yes. How many times? A lot. Why didn't you? Because it feels awful. Then why are we discussing it? Because he says I'm choosing you over our future. There it was. I put my hand flat on the kitchen table because I needed something steady. Your future is not stored in my real estate. She started crying. I know. Do you? Yes. Then why are you crying? Because I'm tired. Grant had been telling her that marriage meant building one financial life, that my property would eventually come to her anyway, that using some earlier was simply efficient, that refusing even to ask showed I did not trust him, that being an only child gave her advantages most couples would be smart enough to use. Emily repeated his language with visible shame. He says his parents transferred assets when he was younger. Good for them. He says families with wealth think generationally. I almost laughed. Does he know how much wealth I have? He thinks the house and cabin may be investments. What do you think? Emily wiped her face. I think you're okay. That's enough. Dad, please don't do the mysterious old man thing. I'm not being mysterious. I'm telling you something more important than a number. Nothing I own is part of Grant's business plan. She nodded. Okay. And nothing I own is automatically yours while I'm alive. I know. Do you? Yes. Good. I don't want your money. I know, she cried harder. Then why does this feel like I'm failing my marriage? I hated Grant in that moment, not because he wanted money, because he had found a way to make my daughter experience his entitlement as her moral deficiency. Listen to me. Asking is allowed. No is allowed. A marriage that cannot survive no is already in trouble. She stared. Do you think I should leave him? I did not say that. Do you want me to? I want you to know whether you can say no to your husband without being punished. Silence. That answer matters more than my opinion. She went home. Grant called the next morning. We need to talk. Sure. Emily is upset. I know. She says you shut down the investment idea. There was no investment idea involving me. Arthur, can we be adults? I laughed once. I'm 68. I've had practice. You know what I mean. No, explain. This is about family planning. Your company is not my family plan. It would benefit Emily. Maybe. And eventually the assets go to her anyway. You seem very interested in my eventual death. Silence. That's unfair. So is budgeting with property you don't own. I'm not trying to take anything. Then this conversation is over. Arthur. Grant. You don't understand what Emily wants. She cried in my kitchen because you keep telling her no means she doesn't believe in your marriage. He went silent. She told you that? Yes. That was private. She is my daughter. She is my wife. Those facts can coexist. His voice hardened. You have always treated me like I'm after something. No, I'm starting to. Good to know. He hung up. That was 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I assumed the subject was dead. Grant assumed I could still be maneuvered. That difference led to the folder. The invitation came from Meredith. Arthur, Thanksgiving will be at our house. We'd love to have you. Love, a word that had not previously survived beyond extended family photo. Thank you. And please, no pies. Caterer has dessert. Understood. 2 days later, Grant called. Friendly again. Hey, Dad. Dad, first time in months, I noticed. Grant, just wanted to make sure Thanksgiving is good. Why wouldn't it be? You and I had that tense conversation. We survived. Exactly. Fresh start. Sounds healthy. Also, dress a little nicer if you can. Some of Dad's business partners may drop by. I looked at the flannel shirt I had planned to wear. Wouldn't want cotton to ruin their appetite. You know what I mean. I do. I wore the flannel. Clean. Dark green. Laura had bought it years earlier. I drove the Avalon. I arrived at noon. The valet looked at the car the way people look at furniture left on a curb. Sir, you can park around the side if you prefer. Front is fine. We're expecting a lot of vehicles. Then you'll need practice. I handed him the key. Inside, Meredith kissed the air beside my cheek. Arthur, you made it. The roads were miraculous. You're funny. She looked at my shirt. Comfortable. Very. Emily found me in the kitchen and hugged me tightly. You okay? Perfect. Grant told me he talked to you. He talks frequently. Dad, I'm behaving. Please, I said I'm behaving. I looked at her face. She looked tired. Did you know about anything planned today? What do you mean? Never mind. I already knew the answer from the confusion. Dinner began at 4. 20 people. The Coles. Extended family. 2 business friends Charles had invited. A neighbor Meredith adored because she appeared in a magazine once. Conversation moved through markets, travel, schools, real estate. Charles asked whether I still did little renovation projects. Sometimes. Keeps you young, or kills me faster. Efficient either way. He laughed loudly. One of the business friends asked what kind of construction I had done. Grant answered before I could. Arthur was hands-on. Old school. Residential repairs, that kind of thing. I looked at him. Something like that. Emily frowned. Dad owned buildings. Grant waved lightly. Sure, some rentals. Charles said, nothing wrong with that. Real estate is real estate. Tone of generosity. I smiled. Comforting. Meredith changed the subject. Halfway through dinner, Grant made a joke about the Avalon. Arthur refuses to let us upgrade him. Charles laughed. My father was the same. Depression-era mentality. I was born 15 years after the Depression ended, but fine. Meredith said, there's something admirable about not caring what people think. Compliment shaped like condescension. Emily said, Dad has always been like that. Yes, Meredith replied, very grounded. The word grounded landed near sweet and simple, in the category of things wealthy people say when they mean lower than us but harmless. I ate turkey, watched, listened. Dessert arrived. Coffee poured, then Grant tapped his glass. Before everyone gets scattered, I wanted to say something. Emily turned toward him. That told me she had not been warned. This year has been huge for us. Brooke's baby, Dad's retirement plans, Emily taking over the new rehab program. A lot of change. He looked toward me, and Arthur has been thinking about his next chapter too. I had not. Grant, Emily said quietly. What? What are you doing? It's good, he smiled. Trust me. There are 2 words people use far too often immediately before proving you should not. Meredith reached beside her chair and produced the cream folder. My name was on the front. We put together something thoughtful, she said. I looked at Emily. Her face had drained of color. Did you know? No, Grant said. She knows generally. Generally, I asked. Dad, he had upgraded me again. Just look. Meredith opened the folder herself. Printed photos of a condo community near Alpharetta. Clubhouse, walking trails, single-level homes. Maintenance-free living, she said. Beautiful, secure, close to us. Then a page showing estimated value of my Marietta house. Another showing estimated value of the cabin. Charles leaned forward. You're sitting on valuable property, Arthur. Not a criticism. Just fact. I'm aware. Liquidating now gives you flexibility. For what? Grant answered. Family. There it was. The folder showed a hypothetical sale of both properties. Estimated combined proceeds after their imaginary calculations. $1.1 million. Proposed use. Purchase condo for me, around $410,000. Set aside funds for Arthur retirement comfort. Then $600,000 early inheritance transfer to Emily. Emily stared at the page. Grant, hear it out. You did this without me? I wanted to surprise you. With Dad's house. With a solution. Meredith touched Emily's arm. Sweetheart, nobody is forcing anything. I looked at the next page. Under the $600,000, $400,000 toward Grant and Charles's new development venture. $200,000 toward down payment on a house in the Cole neighborhood. Grant said, we found 1-2 streets from Mom and Dad. Great school district if we have kids. Pool. Office for you. Enough room for Arthur to stay whenever he wants. I almost admired the final detail. My own money would purchase me a guest room in my daughter's house. Emily whispered, you told me Dad already liked the condo. Grant did not answer quickly enough. I turned toward her. He told you what? She looked between us. Grant said you two talked after our conversation. He said you'd started realizing the cabin was too much, and you were open to selling if everything stayed in the family. I looked at Grant. Did you tell her that? I said you were thinking. Did I say I was thinking? Arthur, you said you understood where I was coming from. No. I said the conversation was over. The table became very quiet. Charles stepped in. Let's not get hung up on semantics. Those are not semantics. Nobody is trying to deceive anyone. Then why does my daughter think I agreed to something I never discussed? Meredith said, because Grant was trying to keep everyone optimistic. I laughed softly. That is a creative definition. Grant's face reddened. This is exactly why I wanted everyone together. You get defensive one-on-one. There it was. The group pressure disguised as family support. I opened the folder to the final page. Why is my name under proposed contribution? Because it's your property. Correct. And Emily is your only child. Correct. So, eventually I die. The table went still. Emily whispered, Dad. That is what eventually means here, Grant sighed. You're making this ugly. I am reading the plan. It's an early transfer. Families do this all the time. Your family? Charles said, yes. Good. Then Charles can provide the $600,000. Charles's smile vanished. That is not the point. Why not? Because we are already funding part of the venture. How much? Silence. Arthur, Grant said. What? This is about building something for Emily. I turned toward my daughter. Do you want this? She looked at the folder, then Grant, then me. I want our marriage to stop being about whether I believe in him enough. That answer changed the room. Grant leaned back. Seriously? Emily's voice shook. You told me if I asked Dad and he said no, at least you'd know I tried. Because you refused even to ask. Because it's his money. It's your inheritance. No, Grant. It's his life. Meredith said, Emily, calm down. I watched my daughter's face harden. Please don't tell me to calm down. Meredith blinked. Emily almost never challenged her. Grant said, this is turning into exactly what I didn't want. I asked, what did you want? A rational conversation. With 20 people watching? Family. These two gentlemen from Charles's firm are family? Nobody spoke. One of the men suddenly found his coffee fascinating. I closed the folder. Grant, do you remember the company dinner in June? His expression shifted. What? Whitmore. Terrace outside the ballroom. Emily looked at me. Dad. Grant went still. I heard you. Heard what? His voice was careful. You told your colleagues I was harmless. You said Emily would probably have to take care of me someday. Then you said my house and cabin would balance it out. Emily's eyes moved to him. You said that? Grant laughed nervously. Jesus, Arthur, it was a joke. Was it? Guys talk. About your wife's father becoming a financial burden? I didn't mean. You also said I peaked early. He stopped. Meredith said, "This is petty." I looked at her. Maybe. Then back to Grant. 4 months ago, you believed I was a tired old contractor sitting on one house in a cabin. You treated me accordingly. Tonight you think those same assets can finance your future, and suddenly I'm dad. Emily's eyes filled. Grant said, "I have always respected you." I almost felt sorry for him because he seemed to believe saying it could make the previous years rearrange themselves. No, Arthur. You tolerated me because I mattered to Emily. Respect is different. That's unfair. At your sister's engagement party, your mother called me extended family while cousins stood in the family photograph. Meredith opened her mouth. I continued. Last Thanksgiving, you handed me the phone so I could photograph your entire world without me in it. Emily began crying. Dad, I'm sorry. I looked at her. You don't have to apologize for every choice they made. Grant snapped. Oh, come on. Now we're making a photo into emotional abuse? No. I stayed calm. We're discussing pattern. You've been cataloging grievances? No. I've been watching. That scared him more. Charles leaned forward. Arthur, I think everyone respects what you've done. Maybe you didn't have the opportunities Grant had. Maybe your generation measured success differently. But nobody is looking down on you. I smiled. Charles, what do you think I did for a living? He hesitated. Construction. What kind? Residential. How many properties do you think I own? Grant frowned. Emily looked at me. Meredith said, Arthur, this is becoming tacky. I agree. Money usually does. I looked at Emily. You once asked whether I'm okay. She nodded. I'm okay. Dad, I own 23 residential buildings in Georgia and Tennessee, 4 small retail properties, half of an industrial park outside Macon, and a minority stake in a regional building supply company I sold most of 6 years ago. Laura and I started buying properties when you were 9. The room stopped. Emily stared at me. What? I never told you the full number because your mother and I decided our money should not choose your life. Grant's face had gone completely blank. Charles looked at me differently. That was the saddest part. Same shirt, same old car outside. Same man. New number. New eyes. How much? Grant asked, before he could stop himself. Emily turned toward him. The question hung there, ugly and pure, he realized. I didn't mean, I laughed softly. Of course you did, Meredith said. There's nothing wrong with asking. No, there isn't. I looked at Grant. There's also nothing wrong with my answer. Silence. No. He stared. You're rejecting it without even considering. I considered it before dessert. This could set Emily up for life. Emily is already set up for life if she continues being Emily. You know what I mean? Yes, you mean it could set you up. That is insulting. Is it inaccurate? He looked at Charles. Bad move. Emily noticed too. She pushed the folder away. I don't want any of it, Meredith said quickly. Sweetheart, don't be emotional. Emily stood. I said stop telling me what I feel. Grant stood too. Sit down. She looked at him. Excuse me? The whole table froze. He immediately softened. I mean, can we please finish this privately? You made it public. Because your father refuses to communicate. My father told you no. He didn't hear me out. Grant, her voice broke. You lied to me. I didn't lie. You told me he was open to selling. He was coming around. He just said he wasn't. Because he wants to win. I almost smiled from disbelief. Emily stared at him. Win what? This, the room. You. He loves being the humble guy who secretly knows more than everybody else. There it was. Grant had finally found an explanation that protected him. My simplicity was now manipulation. My quiet was strategy. My refusal was ego. I could have defended myself. Instead, I asked my daughter one question. Emily, when he says no to something you want, what happens? Grant stared at me. Don't. Emily did not answer. When you say no to him, what happens? Her face changed. Dad, you don't owe me an answer here. She looked at Grant. He keeps asking until I can explain my no well enough. Silence. Grant laughed. That's marriage. People discuss things. Do you get to say no without an essay? I asked him. This is ridiculous. Emily sat back down slowly. No. One word. Grant looked at her. What? I don't get to say no. That's not true. The house, Aspen, leaving my job for the private clinic you wanted me to join. Your mom planning every holiday. The investment. Every time I say no, I get a presentation. Marietta said, we are trying to include you. Emily looked at her. You include me when I agree. Meredith went pale. Charles said, Emily, that's deeply unfair. Is it? We have treated you like a daughter. You didn't even put my father in the family picture. Meredith rolled her eyes. Tiny gesture. Enough. Emily saw it. There. That. What? Every time I mention something that hurt me, you make it embarrassing that I noticed. Nobody spoke. I wanted to hug her. I did not. This was her voice arriving. Let it stand. Grant said, so what now? We blow up our marriage because your dad doesn't like a financial plan? Emily looked at him. No, I'm wondering why my marriage depends on my father liking it. It doesn't. Then why are you angry? He had no answer clean enough. I stood. I'm going home. Emily immediately stood. Dad, stay or come. Your choice. Grant said, you're really walking out? Yes. After starting all this, I looked at him. I did not print the folder. Charles said, Arthur, let's not end the evening like this. Why? Because family disagreements should be worked through. Did I become family after you learned I owned 23 buildings? His face changed. I had not planned to say it. I was glad I did. Meredith whispered, that's cruel. Maybe. I picked up my coat. Here is something your family might find useful. The people who respect you only after discovering your price never respected you. They respected the price. Emily started crying again. Grant said, you're poisoning her against me. I looked at my daughter. Am I? She shook her head. No. Then there's your answer. I walked toward the front door. Emily followed. Grant called her name. She stopped. I kept walking because that decision was hers. Are you leaving with him? Grant asked. Tonight, yes. And what does that mean for us? I don't know. Emily. I don't know, Grant. You're going to let him destroy this over money? She laughed through tears. You brought his money into Thanksgiving. Then she walked out. The valet pulled the Avalon around. Emily stared at it and started laughing. Real, uncontrollable laughter through tears. What? I asked. Nothing. You're laughing at my car? A little. Betrayal everywhere. She climbed into the passenger seat. We drove 35 minutes to Marietta without speaking. Halfway there, she said, 14 million? Around. Dad, what? $14 million? You asked if I was okay. I thought okay meant you weren't going to eat cat food in retirement. Also true. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have changed your career? No. Who you married? She looked out the window. Maybe. Exactly. You thought I'd marry for money? No. I thought other people might marry you differently if they knew. She became quiet. That truth hurt. Did you think Grant did? Not until recently. Do you now? I think Grant married a woman he loved and later discovered a future inheritance he wanted to use. That's worse somehow. Maybe. Why? Because it means the love can be real and still not be enough to make his behavior safe. She cried quietly. I don't know what to do. Good. She looked at me. Good? You do not need to decide your marriage tonight because everyone at that table wants a conclusion. What if I go back? Then go back. You won't be disappointed? I might be worried. That's not what I asked. I will never be disappointed that you made your own decision. Tears again. Mom, your mother would tell you to sleep before making permanent choices. Then she'd make coffee. Terrible coffee. Awful. We laughed. That night, Emily slept in her childhood room for the first time in 9 years. I had never converted it. Grant had once called that sentimental. Maybe. Some rooms should be allowed to wait. At 1:17 a.m., I heard her crying. I stood outside the door for almost a minute before knocking. Come in. She was sitting on the bed with her phone. He's texted me 43 times. That seems efficient. She handed it to me. I did not read. Do you want me to? No. Then why give it to me? I don't know. I sat beside her. What does he say? That I embarrassed him. that you've always hated him, that Charles thinks I'm unstable, that Meredith is devastated, that the development opportunity may disappear, that I'm letting you control me with money. Anything about lying to you? She looked at the phone. 3 sentences. Anything about the way he talks about me? He says you took jokes out of context. Okay. Anything about you? He says he loves me. I believe him. She stared. How can you say that? Because love is not the entire job, she cried. I wish it were. Me too. The next morning, Grant came to my house. 8:30, no call. I opened the door, he looked wrecked. Is Emily here? Yes. I need to see my wife. I'll ask. Arthur, don't do this. Do what? Stand between us. You are standing on my porch. He closed his eyes. Please. I went inside. Emily came to the door. I'll be in the kitchen, I said. Dad. What? Stay nearby. Grant heard. His face tightened. They sat in the living room. I made coffee loudly enough to give them privacy without pretending I did not exist. Grant apologized first. Good. Then I heard the turn. But your dad set me up. Emily. How? He sat there letting us think he had nothing. Nobody asked him. He deliberately hides his wealth. So? So people treat him based on what they know. Long silence. Emily said, that is exactly the problem. Grant sighed. You know what I mean. No. Explain. Your father has been testing us for years. I stopped pouring coffee. There is nothing more revealing than the belief that basic decency requires accurate financial information. Emily said, if someone has to know Dad is rich before they respect him, they failed the test without him giving one. My daughter. Laura would have smiled. Grant said, I respect him. You called him a nursing home fund. Silence. You told people I'd have to take care of him. It was a joke. You told me he agreed to sell his cabin. I thought he would. That is not agreement. Emily, I'm trying to build our future. With Dad's money. With opportunity. Same thing. His voice rose. Fine. Forget the money. Okay. Silence. What? Forget it. I said forget it. Then we forget it. I'm saying it doesn't matter. Great. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Acting like I'm the only person who wanted more for us. Emily's voice became quieter. I wanted more with you. I didn't know more meant becoming your family. That landed. Grant softened. You are my family. Then why does your mother get to decide what I wear? She doesn't. Why did you tell me to stop wearing Mom's necklace at work events? Silence. I had not known that, Emily continued. You said it looked homemade. I said it was casual. My dead mother gave it to me. Grant whispered. I'm sorry. Why did you let your mom leave Dad out of pictures? I didn't notice. Neither did I. That's the problem. I became so busy fitting into your family that I stopped noticing when mine disappeared. Grant cried then, real crying. He said, What do you want from me? Emily answered, I don't know. Come home. Not today. Why? Because if I come home now, I'll spend the next week making you feel better about Thanksgiving. Silence. That's not fair. Maybe. So your father gets you. I am not a couch. That ended the visit. Grant left angry. Emily stayed 3 days. On the 4th, she returned to their house because she wanted to see whether the marriage could survive truth without my house becoming refuge from every difficult conversation. I respected that. For 6 weeks, they tried. Counseling, private conversations, holidays apart from the Coles. Grant apologized for the Thanksgiving plan. He apologized for the lie about my agreement. He apologized for jokes. Some apologies sounded real. Others sounded like a man learning the right vocabulary faster than the underlying belief had changed. Emily called me one Sunday. He keeps asking how much I'll eventually inherit. My stomach dropped. What do you say? I don't know. Good answer. He says couples shouldn't have secrets. My finances are not your marital secret, I told him. What did he say? That you're using money to control our marriage. I sighed. Emily, I know. Do you? I'm trying. What happens when you say, my father's money is irrelevant? He says I'm naive. There it was again. No was not an answer. No was the beginning of persuasion. Emily started noticing it everywhere. She said no to Aspen for Christmas because she wanted a quiet holiday after Thanksgiving. Grant booked refundable tickets in case you change your mind. She said she did not want to buy the bigger house. He scheduled a showing just to look. She said she wanted to keep working at the rehab hospital rather than join a private sports clinic his friend owned. Grant arranged an interview because you should at least know your options. None of those actions were monstrous. Together they created a marriage where Emily's decisions existed only until Grant produced a better argument. The end came over something small. It often does. Laura's pendant. Emily wore it to Grant's company holiday party. He looked at it before they left. That necklace? Yes. With that dress? Yes. What? Nothing. Say it. It just looks a little handmade. Mom made it. I know. She bought it from an artist in Savannah for our 20th anniversary trip and gave it to me before she died. I know. Then why is this conversation happening? Because people notice details. Emily told me later that she stood in their bedroom looking at her husband and suddenly understood everything. People notice details, she repeated. And for 4 years, Grant had been teaching me which details about myself I should hide so the right people would approve. She took off the necklace. Grant visibly relaxed. Then Emily put it back on. I'm wearing it. Fine. And I'm not going to your party. Oh my God. I don't want to. Because of a necklace? No. Because I said I don't want to. He stared. You are blowing up our life because your father made you paranoid. She told him, my father did not teach me to say no. You taught me what happens when I don't. She packed a bag that night. Not because I told her. I did not know until she called from a hotel. Can I come tomorrow? Yes. Not tonight. Okay. I need one night where I'm not someone's daughter or wife. Okay. You're not going to ask where? No. Why? Because you said you need one night, she cried. I love you. Love you. Emily and Grant separated. Meredith called me the next day. Are you proud? No. You got what you wanted? No. You never thought Grant was good enough. I thought Grant was fine until Grant gave me reasons not to. You humiliated him. He presented a plan for my property at Thanksgiving. Because he believed in his family. So did I. You could fix this. How? Tell Emily she is overreacting. I laughed softly. No, you are choosing money over your daughter's marriage. My money is no longer part of their marriage. Exactly. Meredith, listen carefully. If removing my money destroys their marriage, my money was holding something up that should never have depended on it. Silence. You think you're better than us. No, you think because you secretly have millions. There it is. What? You never called me because you wanted my opinion before Thanksgiving. You called after learning I was wealthy. She went silent. Goodbye, Meredith. I hung up. I blocked her after 3 more calls. Charles never called. That told me enough. Grant and Emily spent 4 months in counseling while separated. She wanted to know she had not abandoned the marriage at the first major rupture. I understood. I also watched her become herself again. She wore Laura's necklace constantly. Returned to Saturday farmers markets. Spent weekends at the cabin. Started laughing before checking who else was listening. The day I knew she would not return to Grant came quietly. We were at the cabin painting the porch railing. She said, I asked him whether he would still have married me if he knew you had nothing. I stopped painting. What did he say? He said, of course. Okay. Then I asked whether he would have treated you differently if he knew you had 14 million. Silence. What did he say? Nothing for a long time. I set down the brush. And then? He said, probably. There it was. Honest. Devastating. He told me he was raised to pay attention to people who matter. I felt anger rise, Emily continued. He realized halfway through saying it. I'm sorry. Me too. Do you hate him? No. Still love him? Yes. That's hard. I think I finally understand what you meant. Love isn't the entire job, she cried. I don't want to be married to someone who needs a balance sheet before deciding whether my father matters. They divorced without a public war. I am not going to turn that part into a courtroom story because the emotional ending happened long before signatures. They divided their life. Emily moved into a townhouse near work. Grant kept their Roswell house temporarily. There were no children, which made some things simpler and some grief sharper. Meredith posted vague social media messages. Some people mistake independence for loyalty. Marriage requires protecting your spouse from outside influence. Wealth reveals character. That last one almost made me respond. Agreed. I did not. Emily blocked her. Grant did not smear Emily publicly. I will give him that. He also left the development project with Charles because without Emily's expected contribution, it required more risk than he had admitted. His career continued. I did nothing to it. That is important. People assume when they learned I had money that I must have connections to hurt him. I probably could have made several calls. I made none. Grant's consequence was losing access to the version of Emily who had been shrinking herself for him. That was enough. Revenge is easy when you can reach into someone's life and break things. Restraint is harder. I did not want my daughter healing inside a war between men. 6 months after the divorce, Grant asked to meet me. I almost refused. Emily said, "Go if you want, don't for me." I went. We met at a diner near Perimeter Mall. Grant looked different. No suit, no watch I recognized. Tired. "Thank you for coming." "Sure. I owe you an apology." "Several." He almost smiled. "Fair." He apologized for the jokes, the dinner, the lie about me agreeing, the photos, the way he talked about me at work. "I made you small because I thought you were small." Direct. "Why?" "Because I'm an ass." Too simple. He stared at his coffee. "Because my father taught me rooms have hierarchies. You figure out who has influence, and you don't waste time pretending everybody does." Efficient. Ugly. "Yes. When I met you, you didn't care whether I was impressed." That bothered me. "Interesting." "Why?" "Because I thought it meant you didn't understand what I'd accomplished. Maybe I just didn't need to rank it." "Exactly." He rubbed his face. "Then when I found out how much you owned, I felt humiliated." "Why?" "Because suddenly every joke I made looked different. The jokes were the same before and after." "I know. That's the problem." He nodded. "I think I wanted your money partly because I wanted proof I mattered to you." That surprised me. "How?" "If you backed my project, it meant you believed I was worth something." "Grant, you were married to my daughter." "I know. That was already trust." "I didn't see it that way. Clearly." He laughed sadly. "Do you forgive me?" I thought. "Mostly. Does that help?" "Probably less than you hoped." "A little." "Good. Do you think Emily will ever forgive me?" "Ask Emily. She says she does." "Then believe her." "She still won't come back. Forgiveness is not a lease renewal." He smiled. "She says things like you now." "Terrible fate." "Arthur?" "Yeah." "Did you know I loved her?" "Yes." He started crying. "That somehow makes it worse." "I know." We finished coffee. I did not become his friend. I stopped needing him to be the villain. That was healthier for me. Emily did the same. She forgave him long before she trusted her own choices around relationships again. For a while, she rejected any man who wore a nice watch, because apparently trauma lacks nuance. Therapy helped. She rebuilt. Not dramatically. That matters. She did not quit work and open a flower shop, because Reddit stories enjoy symbolic reinvention. She kept the career she loved. She took a promotion leading a rehabilitation team. She bought a small condo by herself and painted the kitchen green. Even though Meredith once said green kitchens looked dated. She hosted Thanksgiving the next year, 8 people. Me, my sister Janet, 2 cousins, Emily's best friend. No photographers. No matching plates. We ate at 6 because the turkey took forever. Halfway through dinner, Emily looked around and said, "We forgot the family picture." I froze for half a second. Then she laughed. "Nobody move." She propped her phone against a stack of cookbooks, set the timer, and ran into the frame beside me. The photo was terrible. My eyes closed. Cousin Mark was chewing. Emily leaned too far left. Janet looked angry for no reason. Emily posted it with the caption, "My whole world, badly photographed." I cried when I saw it, did not tell her. She knew anyway. My money became a new problem after the divorce, because Emily suddenly knew the number. At first, she wanted none of it. "I don't want Grant to have been right that my future was waiting for your money. Grant was wrong because he treated my future as your current asset. That does not require you to become allergic to inheritance." "I mean it." "Okay. I'm not taking an early transfer." "Okay. Stop saying okay like you already planned something." "I have plans for my money because I'm alive." She laughed. "Fine." We agreed on one thing. I would not use money to reward decisions she made about her personal life. Leaving Grant did not earn her a house. Rebuilding did not earn her a check. She needed to know her boundaries were valuable, even if no financial reward followed. 2 years later, when she decided to buy a larger townhouse because she had begun fostering teenagers through a local program, she came to me. I want to ask something. Okay. I can afford the place with a normal mortgage. Good. But you once said Mom wanted some money used while you were alive. She did. Would you want to help with part of the down payment? Yes. How much? What do you think is appropriate? She stared. You're making me decide? Your house. Dad. 10%? I was thinking 20. You inherited negotiating from me, apparently. I gave her 20%. She financed the rest. She paid the mortgage herself. That mattered to her. Choice changes generosity. The cabin remained mine. The Marietta house remained mine. I eventually sold neither because, apparently, I remained stubborn. I did sell 2 apartment buildings because managing them bored me. I gave part of the proceeds to a workforce housing nonprofit Laura supported. Meredith would have called the donation meaningful now that she knew the amount. Laura would have called me an idiot for not taking the tax deduction sooner. Different women. I kept the Avalon another 3 years. It finally died in a grocery store parking lot with 287,000 miles. Emily arrived and stood beside it while the tow truck loaded it. Are you okay? No. Dad. Your mother liked this car. Mom hated that car. Selective memory. She called it the silver coffin. Affectionately, no. I bought a used Lexus, 3 years old, gray. Emily called it character development. I told her to leave my driveway. She refused. Life became ordinary again. That is the part I value most. Not the reveal at Thanksgiving. Not Grant's face when he learned the old contractor owned $14 million in assets. Not Meredith suddenly calling me Arthur with a tone normally reserved for donors. Those moments are satisfying for 5 minutes. Ordinary peace lasts longer. Sunday coffee. Emily calling because a patient made her laugh. Fixing a cabinet hinge at her townhouse and having her say, I could have hired someone. I know. Then why did you come? Because you asked. There, that is family. Not access presumed. Help requested. Help chosen. The difference became almost sacred to both of us. Emily eventually dated again. His name was Nathan Brooks, a middle school principal, divorced, 1 teenage daughter. The first time I met him, he arrived at my house in a 6-year-old Honda Accord with bird droppings on the hood. Excellent start. He brought beer. Not fancy beer, good beer. We sat on the porch. 20 minutes in, he asked what I had done before retirement. Buildings. Like construction? Yes. Cool. I can't hang a shelf. Grant said that too. Emily almost choked on her drink. Nathan looked between us. Is that bad? We'll see. He laughed. Later, after he learned gradually that I owned property, nothing about his behavior changed. That mattered more than any compliment. He still asked me to help repair a fence, still argued with me about college football, still called me Arthur. When Emily told him the full story about Grant and the inheritance plan, Nathan said, Your dad must have enjoyed telling them he was rich. I said, About 30 seconds. Then what? Mostly I felt stupid for letting disrespect go on that long. Nathan nodded. Makes sense. No fascination with the number. Good sign. Emily and Nathan married 3 years later in a small ceremony at the cabin. 32 people. His daughter stood with Emily. I walked her partway down the path. Before the ceremony, she said, Dad, promise me something. Depends. Do not reveal any secret companies at dinner. No promises. I'm serious. I'm wearing flannel. Of course you are. Laura would approve. Mom would tell you to iron it. Your mother had unrealistic standards. She laughed, then became quiet. Do you think I should have left Grant sooner? No. Really? I think you left when you understood why you needed to. I lost years. You also learned something. Expensive lesson. Most good ones are. Would Mom have hated him? Nathan? Grant, I thought. Your mother would have liked Grant at first. That's not comforting. Laura liked charm. True, then she would have noticed you apologizing too much. Tears appeared. And? Then she would have taken you shopping, fed you lunch, and asked questions until you became furious. That sounds right. She would not have told you what to do. No. She was smarter than me, definitely. Wedding canceled. She hugged me. I whispered, Choose your life. She said, I am. During the reception, Nathan's father asked whether the cabin was mine. Yes. Beautiful place. Thank you. That was the whole conversation. Nobody estimated it. Nobody suggested selling it. Nobody called it equity. I almost proposed to the man myself. Years have passed since that Thanksgiving at the Cole house. I am 74 now, still in Marietta, still mowing my own lawn despite Emily threatening to hire somebody behind my back. Nathan and Emily live 20 minutes away with his daughter, who is in college now, and a 15-year-old foster son they are hoping will stay permanently if that is what he wants. Emily never had biological children. For a while she carried grief about that. Grant had once made it another argument for the big house and future planning. We'll have kids eventually. Life had other plans. Emily built family another way. I have learned not to rank that either. Grant remarried last year, a woman he met through work. Emily learned from a mutual friend and said, "Good for him." I watched her face. She meant it. That is freedom. Meredith sent Emily a Christmas card 2 years after the divorce. "Thinking of you and hoping time has softened old misunderstandings." Emily laughed for 5 full minutes. Misunderstandings? Apparently. Are you responding? No. Healthy. Therapy. Expensive? Dad, you own $14 million. That has nothing to do with therapy prices. She rolled her eyes. Charles died from a heart attack last year. Emily attended the funeral because she wanted to. She had spent 4 years calling him Dad. Grief does not obey boundaries neatly. Meredith hugged her and whispered, "He always loved you." Emily said, "I loved him too." Nothing more. No reconciliation. No speech. Adults sometimes heal by allowing relationships to remain exactly the size they have become. Grant was there. He hugged Emily. Nathan shook his hand. I did not attend, not out of spite. I had no relationship with Charles that required pretending. That distinction matters. I also eventually told Emily everything about my finances. Not because she needed a number, because aging makes secrecy impractical. We sat at my kitchen table with a yellow legal pad. I showed her properties, accounts, the investment partnership, insurance, charities I support, what I wanted done if I became unable to make decisions. No theatrical reveal. No, one day this will all be yours. I told her, some will go to you, some won't. Okay, you're not upset? Why would I be? People get weird. Apparently. I'm leaving the cabin to you if you want it. She cried. Dad, you can sell it. Never. Your mother said that about the minivan. Different. Promise me you won't turn it into some shrine. I won't. Use it. I will. And the house? What about it? You want it? She looked around the kitchen. I want the height marks. Door frame comes out. Do not touch that door frame. Bossy. Inherited. We laughed. Then she asked, why did you really keep all of this quiet? I had answered versions before. That day I understood more. At first because your mother and I didn't want you growing up waiting for money. Okay. Later because I liked being underestimated. She raised an eyebrow. That sounds healthy. It wasn't entirely. Why? Being invisible can become its own kind of pride. That surprised her. You think you were testing people? Sometimes. Like Grant said, not consciously. But maybe I enjoyed watching people reveal themselves because it let me feel smarter. Dad. He was still wrong to treat people differently based on what he thought they had. Yes, but I could have told him more about myself earlier. Would it have changed who he was? Probably only how he treated me. She nodded. Then I'm glad you didn't. Maybe. No maybe. Life is mostly maybe. She hated that answer. I have thought a lot about that dinner over the years. People love the hidden rich man part when I tell the story. Old car, flannel shirt, gated mansion, $600,000. Everybody's face changing. They think the satisfying moment is the reveal. It is not. The reveal actually made me sad. Watching Charles sit straighter after learning I owned buildings. Watching Meredith's voice become warmer. Watching Grant ask, how much? Before asking whether I'd been hurt by years of jokes. Those changes confirmed something I would have preferred to be wrong about. The real satisfying moment came earlier, before anyone knew the number, when Emily finally said, it's his life. That sentence mattered. My daughter chose respect before she knew there was anything financially impressive to respect. She did not defend me because I was secretly wealthy. She defended me because I was her father and my no belonged to me. That is character. Laura and I got that part right. Maybe not everything, that part. I also learned something uncomfortable about parents of adult children. We can become addicted to protecting them from painful truths because we do not want to be accused of interfering. I heard Grant call me a burden in waiting. I saw Emily shrink. I saw patterns. I kept telling myself, she has grown. She chose him. True. But respecting an adult child does not require pretending not to see. The healthier thing would have been to say, I heard something that concerned me. I trust you to decide what it means. Instead, I held the information until Thanksgiving forced everything into one room. That created a bigger explosion than honesty might have created earlier. I own that. Parents can learn too. Now, when Emily asks what I think about something, I tell her once, I do not campaign. I do not repeat. I do not use money as emphasis. If she chooses differently, I let her. That is harder than handing someone a check. Control often disguises itself as generosity. The Coles taught me that by accident. Grant's plan sounded generous. Move Arthur somewhere easier. Give Emily inheritance early. Build a company. Buy a family house. Everyone benefits. The missing piece was my consent. A plan can benefit you and still violate you if everybody created it around your surrender. That is why I no longer accept, but it makes sense, as an answer to, did you ask? Families get into dangerous territory when usefulness becomes permission. You have extra bedrooms, so we can plan around them. You have money, so we can budget it. You have time, so you can babysit. You have no children, so your schedule is flexible. You are retired, so you can help. You are strong, so you can absorb hurt. You are successful, so you can pay. You are easygoing, so you will understand. Eventually, the person described by all those compliments realizes every good quality has been converted into an argument for why they deserve fewer boundaries. That is not love. Love notices what you can give and still waits for you to offer it. I give Emily money sometimes. I paid for part of her foster son's summer program because she asked if I wanted to. I said yes. I helped Nathan replace their roof because he asked whether I knew a contractor. I said, unfortunately, I know one personally, and spent 2 Saturdays on a ladder while Emily shouted that old men should not be on roofs. You are literally becoming the problem. I have insurance. That is not comforting. Choice made helping joyful again. Nobody expects me to sell anything. Nobody counts rooms. Nobody introduces me differently depending on who is listening. Nathan once took me to a school fundraiser where someone asked what I did before retirement. He said, Arthur owns some property and built stuff. Mostly now he terrorizes us with home repairs. Accurate enough. I did not correct him. Afterward, Emily asked, you okay with him saying some property? Thrilled. Why? It's technically true. 23 buildings. Some. She laughed. My current car is a 2021 Lexus ES Gray. Very exciting. I still miss the Avalon. I kept the cracked dashboard emblem in a drawer because old men are sentimental despite years spent mocking women for saving greeting cards. Last month, my neighbor Bill Patterson, now 80, asked whether I finally came into money because of the Lexus. Apparently, lottery? Something like that. He laughed. You've always been strange. Thank you. We discussed tomatoes for 20 minutes. That might be my favorite part of wealth. It does not have to change the conversation. The people I value like me when my car looked tired. They like me now that the air conditioning works consistently. If someone's respect changes because they learn a number, the number has not improved the relationship. It has diagnosed it. Emily understands that better than anyone now. At Thanksgiving last year, she hosted 15 people, Nathan's family, my sister, foster kids, friends, me. Before dinner, Nathan said, family picture. I instinctively reached for the phone. Emily slapped my hand. Absolutely not. I'm an excellent photographer. You're in it. My eyes close. Then we take 12. Wasteful. Dad. Everyone crowded into the living room. No matching clothes. No curated staircase. Nathan's daughter set the timer. We took 10 photographs because somebody moved every time. In the best one, the dog was blocking half of me. Emily posted it online later. Family is who notices when you're missing. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I called her. Your mother would like that. I know. She'd complain about the dog. Definitely. Love you. Love you. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone at my Marietta kitchen table. Same table Laura and I used to calculate whether we could afford our first duplex. Same table Emily did homework on. Same table where she sat crying after Thanksgiving years earlier. Money came and went across that table. Grief, marriage, divorce, hope. None of those things made the wood more valuable. Meaning did. That is what Grant never understood when he looked at my house and saw trapped equity. He thought value and price were the same thing. They are not. The cabin had a price. It also contained Laura laughing because a raccoon stole our food. My house had a price. It also held my daughter's childhood. My old car had almost no price. It held 19 years of ordinary mornings with a woman I loved. My time has a price if someone hires me. It has different value when Emily asks me to sit on a porch and say nothing because she has had a hard day. The people who reduce everything to what it can fund eventually reduce people too. Grant learned that. To his credit, I think he genuinely changed after losing Emily. He stopped talking about status so much, left Whitmore eventually, and joined a smaller firm. A mutual friend told me he mentors younger employees now, and once corrected somebody for joking about a janitor. Maybe that came from us. Maybe not. Growth does not require my participation to be real. I hope he is happier. I hope he treats his new wife well. I do not need him punished forever to prove I was right. That is another thing money taught me. When you have enough power to hurt someone and choose not to, you learn whether you actually wanted justice or just the emotional satisfaction of watching them fall. I wanted my daughter safe in herself. I got that. Everything else would have been excess. So, if people ask whether I regret not telling Grant who I was sooner, my answer changes depending on the day. Some days, yes. Maybe Emily would have been spared years of watching her husband make jokes about me. Other days, no. If Grant had known I owned millions the first night we met, he might have treated me beautifully, and I might never have seen the hierarchy inside him until it landed somewhere more dangerous. Maybe on Emily, maybe on a child, maybe on an employee who actually had nothing he wanted. There is value in knowing how someone behaves when they think you cannot help them. Not because life should be one long secret test, because respect that requires leverage is not respect. I know that now with absolute clarity. My daughter once asked me what I would do if I could go back to the Thanksgiving table, right before Grant slid that folder toward me. Would I expose everything sooner? Would I leave before dessert? Would I warn her? I said, I'd still let him slide the folder. She frowned. Why? Because you needed to hear yourself say, it's his life. That's manipulative. Maybe. Dad, fine. I'd probably stop your mother-in-law when she called me sweet. Why? That annoyed me. Emily laughed until she cried. Then she said, I'm glad you were there. At Thanksgiving? No, all of it. My throat tightened. Even when I missed things, you noticed eventually. That's not a great standard. You noticed before I disappeared completely. Parents carry guilt in strange shapes. That sentence helped. I had been blaming myself for not rescuing her sooner. But adult children do not need rescuers the way children do. They need witnesses who tell the truth without taking over the steering wheel. I am still learning the difference. Emily turns 40 next spring. She does not know it yet. But I am restoring Laura's old jewelry box for her birthday, not buying a new one. Restoring the scratched one from our bedroom. The silver pendant Grant disliked will go inside. Emily already has the pendant, obviously. I am not stealing it, Nathan would tell her. The box will include one note. Nothing you love becomes cheap because somebody else fails to recognize its value. That is the whole story, really. My car, my house, my work, Laura's necklace, my daughter, a quiet old man in simple clothes. Value does not begin when the room finally notices. And self-worth does not require walking into every room proving what you own. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is remain exactly who you are and pay attention to who becomes kinder only after learning what they can get from you. Those people are telling you the truth. Believe them. And if someone you love starts disappearing inside a relationship because every no becomes a debate, every family tradition becomes embarrassing, every possession becomes leverage, and every boundary becomes evidence of disloyalty, do not wait for a $600,000 Thanksgiving folder before asking the obvious question. Are they being loved or are they being managed? There is a difference. So here is the question I would ask anyone listening. because people still disagree when I tell them what happened. If your daughter's husband had spent years mocking you as a harmless old man, excluding you from family pictures, telling your daughter you were becoming a future burden, and then secretly planning to use her inheritance from you for his business, only to apologize sincerely after learning you were far wealthier than he imagined, would you ever trust that apology? Or would the fact that his respect changed the moment he learned your price tell you everything you needed to know?